One thing that was most important to me as we went through and designed the building was to create a building which all Northbrook residents could be very proud of, a building in which the public would feel comfortable coming to pay their water bill or to get their building permit or to participate, listen to a board meeting. We wanted the building to be very accommodating, very warm, very welcoming, and to really encourage people to participate in village government, which we all feel is so very important for the improvements of our town. Are familiar with Northbrook and specifically our old Village Hall, I'm sure you recall the days when we had village staff working in the basement level, working under stairwells. We were definitely in need of additional space. One of the recommendations was to construct an addition to the existing Village Hall. Everyone that was involved with the Village Hall was aware that we had problems with the mechanical systems for the old Village Hall. The Village Hall, which sat in between this building and the library, was built back in the early 60s on a shoestring budget. It's my understanding that the mechanical system that we ended up installing on the roof was purchased from a farmer in Wisconsin. It was in his barn, and it was second-hand, and while it did serve our needs for a number of years, we ended up with problems, mechanical problems, the unavailability of parts to replace broken parts. For that reason and naturally reasons, aesthetic reasons, and for reasons of wanting to place the building in the best location on the site to take advantage of our approximate 5 acres that we have for parking, for landscaping and so forth, the board decided to go with the second option, and that was to build a new facility on this existing site. Because of my background and responsibilities with the village, I was appointed the person in charge of the construction of the new Village Hall for the project. I was the project manager, worked very closely with the Board of Trustees, the neighbors, the community, the architects, and the contractors during the construction of this most magnificent building. We prepared a list of criteria for architects for pre-qualification. We were very fortunate that we attracted some of the more prominent architects in the Chicagoland area. I believe we had 17 architectural firms which called and had expressed interest. We set up interviews for the architects before the Board of Trustees, and during the process it was very obvious that the firm that we ultimately chose, Decker & Kemp, was by far the best candidate for the construction of the job.
My partner Kevin and I started Decker & Kemp in October of 1986. So by 1988 we had been in practice together for 2 years, which made us a very young firm in the solar system of those architectural firms who were interested in and would compete for this assignment. We came to Northbrook to learn everything we could about this community, to learn about how the village of Northbrook governs itself, how they conduct the common affairs of the people, of the citizens of the village. We got to know everything we could about the physical fabric of the community, Where are the important institutional buildings in the community? How do people move about the community? What's downtown like? What are the areas in the vicinity of the Village Hall like? And we got to know the staff, and we got to know the principal departments of the village staff. We got to know the leadership of those departments. I remember the old Village Hall was so crowded, and I remember the basement was so often flooded, and the working conditions for this wonderful staff who does the work of the citizens of the village, the working conditions were pretty tough. I think we managed to convey to them our enthusiasm, our spirit, our commitment to the task at hand, and our ability to listen and to understand and to convert that understanding ultimately into successful architecture. There were many firms at first, and the list kept narrowing down. And I remember that on that evening when we made our final presentation, Kevin and I walked outdoors into the parking lot to prepare to go home, and we were very confused about whether or not we had successfully been able to articulate our enthusiasm for and our real and true interest in the project. And one of the board members came out and said that they were very impressed that a young firm could so powerfully articulate this. So we were hopeful, but very anxious about how it would unfold. But we were successful, and we were selected for the project. One of the things that is true about this project is that it has resulted from an really quite extraordinary sense of cooperation, partnership, if you will, between the village board and Wayne and the staff and Wayne's extraordinary leadership and the larger community. This was really a project that was the result of a partnership. And at every step in the way, we were very careful to create an open, detailed, public process. Always with the knowledge in mind that what we were doing was creating a building that is everyone's, that it doesn't belong to any one person or any one group of people. It doesn't belong to the board or the staff, but belongs instead to all of the people who live in Northbrook.
It was very important to us during the design phase of this building to create an environment, a municipal environment, which would encourage the village residents' participation in government. As part of the planning for the Village Hall, we discussed several options for the actual positioning of the Village Hall in relationship to the library building, and also the driveway and parking access for both buildings. It was our goal back in the design process to continue to encourage people to use the Village Hall site. I don't know if most of you are aware, but this particular area has been the gathering spot for the Northbrook residents since the late 1800s. I've seen pictures of the days when the detention area was the natural retention area or overspill for the river. It was where Northbrook residents came to skate. This was a park area, and we certainly want to encourage people to continue to use these facilities and visit the site. It measures approximately 5 acres in size. It currently accommodates some of the programs from the Park District, soccer, and is centrally located and is certainly available for enjoyment of all.
When we began the process of design, there were a number of strong feelings that we had that we felt the building needed to incorporate. And there were likewise strong impressions that had been communicated to us by the board and by the staff. But most of all, I think we were given an unusual assignment. The board said to us that the village of Northbrook wanted a building that would last hundreds of years. And I think in all of the years since that moment, no client has ever said to us those same kinds of words. And I think as we looked at the community and talked with the board and staff, we felt that there was a desire to create a sense of permanence in the new Village Hall, a sense that the building had deep roots in an environment that was changing so rapidly. And so it seemed reasonable to us to go back to look carefully at the architecture in this community, that institutional architecture that marks buildings of importance here in Northbrook and in other surrounding communities, and use that architecture as a starting point, because those are buildings that have, over the years, come to take on great meaning for people who live here in this community. And it's that accessible, understandable meaning that we were looking for in the design of the Village Hall.
The Village Hall was built somewhat as a mirror to the village church, which is located at Shermer Road and Church Street. If you're sitting at the stoplight and you look at the basic design of the church, you'll see that you will observe that our roof structure and clock tower are very similar to their roof and their main entrance feature.
The building always had a tower, a vertical element that was tall in the skyline to mark the building. And we did these things because we wanted the building to powerfully say, this is the Village Hall. This is the building of great importance to this community. This is where the community comes to do the civic work of managing the public life of the citizens of the municipality. It is a very important building, and it needs to have a position of prominence and an expression of prominence in the way in which it's sited and in the way in which it's organized. Even though our assignment was to design a single building, we wanted to incorporate more. We wanted to say the building and the community deserve a Village Hall that affects and incorporates all of the resources and the other things that are going on all around it. We worked with the library board to make sure that traffic and parking issues could easily be resolved in the village campus here in the vicinity of the Village Hall. We worked with the neighbors to the south to make sure that at every step of the way they understood how the building was arranged and how it would work and how it would look and how it would affect them during construction and how they could become active participants in determining the answers to the questions that obviously were on their minds. We had many working sessions together, and we had many public presentations to make sure that everyone was aware of how the building was coming together. Most of all, we worked intensively with the village staff. We worked intensively with the heads of each of the departments to make sure that we understood precisely how those departments needed to work. And our attitude was one of listening very carefully to what it was that we were being told about how things needed to work here in the Village Hall. And each member of the village staff was invited to be an active participant in determining how things would work out. Wayne, of course, deserves the greatest credit of all, because Wayne was all of our lead. He was our leader for all of us, and was dogged in making sure that we paid attention to every detail. We had periodic meetings with each department. We showed them the plans that were evolving. We took their criticism, we made changes, we moved things. There was a time when the boardroom, this room we sit in today, was actually in another position in the earlier original design. And all of these things got moved and shifted and adjusted and tailored because of the involvement of the board and the staff and the community in making sure that we had everything just right.
We, at Decker and Kemp, we thought of ourselves as craftsmen, not just designers, but craftsmen, meaning that how our buildings were put together, how they were constructed, meant as much as what they look like, and that they should be very durable and speak to future generations through their craft. We carried this concept through to our making the construction drawings. Wayne and his group here wanted to make sure that they had a very excellent group of builders to pick from. This being a public building and taxpayer and public money being involved in this construction, the village was required to open up the bidding broadly, publicly. But they were able to negotiate through that to have what we call the pre-qualification process. So the village, with our help, sent out very extensive questionnaires to pre-qualify the builders. When that was done, we hoped to get 5 or 6, and we wound up with 5 contractors, any one of whom the village would have been delighted to work with. As it turned out, W.B. Olson got the contract. Working with W.B. Olson, the builder for the Village Hall, was very much a marriage made in heaven, kind of a 3-way marriage between DLK, Decker and Kemp at the time, and the village and Olson. They are excellent builders, very high reputation for integrity and quality, and they were very good to work with.
I'm Bill Olson, and I am was the president of W.B. Olson Incorporated when we built the Village Hall. I became a contractor in 1963, organizing my business in Chicago, and in 1970 I moved to Northbrook. Wayne Hansen asked us to bid this job, and we were very flattered that this would come to us. We were very happy to be able to do this job. We started roughly in November of 1989, and our contract was $4,137,000. And we finished, substantially completed the building sometime in October of 1990.
The Village Hall footprint is approximately 14,000 square feet in area. The building itself is the habitable area, measures 24,000 square feet, and we have approximately 3,500 square feet in the basement area, which is used basically for storage and the mechanical equipment. And the potential of third floor attic space of 6,500 square feet in the event that the village services are expanded.
Turned out to be a cold beginning for the project in the sense from a climate perspective, and so it was a challenge for us at that time to do the concrete work, and then being that it was primarily a masonry job, to do the masonry during the cold winter. We were very fortunate in having a good team relationship with our subcontractors and with the owners and representatives of the village. The concrete contractor, DeGraff, did a fine job, and Crouch Walker was a mason contractor. My project superintendent was Frank Mortensen, who was on the project daily. And I think one of the things that helped with this fine building was the day-to-day teamwork that we had with the folks from Northbrook, primarily with Wayne Hansen and with Dan Walker. And certainly the relationship with Decker and Kemp and their representative, Tom Clune.
There's a specimen silver birch outside of the Village Hall on Cedar Street towards the north end of the building, outside of the government department offices. And we were told that that was a favorite tree. And during construction, we took great pains, the contractor took great pains in excavating just as much as they needed to be able to get the foundation and be able to work in there and build a foundation wall, but keeping away from the roots. Because it was a mature tree, and as such, the root structure had grown very far, so we had to keep away from it.
The project was challenging in that the construction started in late fall, and we ended up, the masonry portion of the building occurred during the winter months. There was a point that the contractor, Crouch Walker, had to construct some enclosures with heat to continue work. It was a very snowy winter. Fortunately, they were able to stay on track. We naturally wanted to create a loading area on the old Village Hall. We ended up accepting deliveries through the front door. This footage shows the beginnings of the rear loading dock. Second floor masonry started end of February, beginning of March. This segment shows the pouring of the lightweight concrete on the second floor deck. Following the pouring of the floor, work continued on the masonry walls on the second floor. One of the attractive features of the Village Hall is the mix of the custom brick along with limestone sills. In the spring, when the masonry was completed, the carpenter contractor set the roof trusses, and which was completed in early summer. In mid-June, the roofing contractor was able to start fronting the roof, at which point we were able to provide some protection for the interior work which was taking place. The slate roof took approximately 30 days to complete. The original plans for the Village Hall called for a cement asbestos type shingle, but fortunately the Board of Trustees didn't like the idea that there would be asbestos in the building, which caused an upgrade to the slate. I think everyone would agree that this is an excellent addition to this most magnificent building. We began our curb work, which was, and the parking lots were finished at the end of, and the curbs were finished at the end of September. The atrium of the Village Hall accommodates 3 windows for the finance department. The interior of the building is fairly simple. It's steel studs. The Board of Trustees did decide that we would use oak, cortisone oak in the public areas, and we used number 2 poplar in the office staff areas. Most people that visit the Village Hall are very impressed with the woodwork in the atrium. The Village Hall has a series of arches. I believe there's approximately 50 arches on the interior and also in the exterior of the building. The building took approximately 12 months to construct. In the fall of 90, we were finished painting the office areas, and the carpenter contractor was finishing up the trim work. During the design of the building, we spent a great deal of time fine-tuning the layout of the boardrooms. The Northbrook Civic Association was generous in their donation of the dais in the boardroom and also the clock and the tower. And the entrance to the boardroom is a good example of a feature that has warm, comfortable feeling as you enter the building. In early September, work continued on the curbing for the parking lots. The design for the building did include parking at the front of the building, which is the parking that is utilized to the greatest extent by the visitors to our building. The work in the parking lot was on schedule. In fact, I should point out that W.B. Olson, our general contractor, completed the building ahead of schedule. When I discussed the completion of the building with local architects and general contractors, and I point out the fact that the building was completed ahead of schedule and under budget, everyone is amazed. That doesn't happen very often in the construction industry. Following the completion of the parking lot, we began the installation of the landscape materials. We have won several awards for this building. The most recent was from the Associated Landscape Contractors of America for the Environmental Improvement Award of Distinction. It was presented to the Village Hall and our landscape contractor, Moore Landscaping of Glenview, for 1996. It's my understanding that several hundred projects submitted application for this most distinguished award, and there were only 5 recipients.
The moving day, when it came in November of 1990, was a gorgeous day. We were extremely lucky to have such a beautiful day because not only were the employees ebullient about the idea of moving to the new hall where they would have more spacious quarters and better working conditions, but they were also going to be doing a lot of the work. We were saving taxpayers' money by having the employees use that day for a work day, but using it as a moving day also. The employees work together in a real great spirit of cooperation. The employees were happy when moving day finally arrived. The video also shows a windowless office that was redesigned by the employee that used that office so that she can have a window. She painted her own design on the cement blocks so that a window would be available for her to at least imagine that she was outdoors. We had been packing our boxes for weeks in advance. The Public Works Department people were asked to come and help us, and we carried our belongings as much as we could from one building to the other. And you can see us here having our pizza party while we enjoyed the relaxation during the noon hour. The demolition of the old hall took place a month or two, I can't remember the date exactly, after we had all moved into the new village hall. The destruction was viewed by the staff in the new village hall by going upstairs where we could look down on the old hall and see that the cranes as they came in and were knocking down the old hall, and it was a very exciting moment because now we knew that we were finally settled in the new location. It was not a real nostalgic moment, I have to say honestly, because we felt that the new quarters were so nice and the old quarters we were well rid of them. It had just not been functioning well as a location for us for some time, so we were glad to see it leave and know that a new small park would take the place right between us and the library.
And looking back on the job and viewing it today, there's much satisfaction that I personally received from being a part of this project. It's a great contribution to Northbrook. The Village Hall is a wonderful facility. The opportunity to work with the folks during the project was something that is very pleasing to me, and appreciate the opportunity for being a part of the project.
Since the time we completed this, I've come to this council chamber many times on occasions of other projects, and I'm always filled with a sense of pride when I come into this building because of the work that went into it and the job that we did and the relationship that we have. We continue to have an excellent relationship in Northbrook, and I hope that we will continue to do so for many years to come. Thank you.